Welcome to Beyond the Next Chapter. I'm your host, Whitney Clark, and the countdown to Christmas is on. In the spirit of the holiday, we're joined by who we're going to call the unofficial Queen of Christmas, the Queen of Christmas in Arizona, and that is Karen Schaler. She's not only an author, but a 3-time Emmy Award-winning screenwriter, producer, and former journalist. You may have seen her feel-good romantic comedy movies on Netflix, Hallmark, and Lifetime. That includes A Christmas Prince. She's also written 8 novels. Did I miss something? Because I was looking at your website. I'm like, she's done basically everything.
There's a lot. You did really well, Whitney. Even my family, I don't think, does so well. I did one thing I'm really excited about. I did an Audible original, and it was multicast. And that was my first experience where I got to also help produce. I got to bring in Ryan Pavey, who is a big Hallmark star, because he has that sexy voice. So that's just, I think you nailed it, though. I mean, you're hired. Come be part of my family.
I love it. And you were not just a journalist, but a war correspondent. You went from war correspondent to writing Christmas books, Christmas movies. How did you make that transition?
Well, it's so hard when you're covering crime. I was first crime and investigative, worked here, in the Phoenix Valley, had so much fun doing that, but it was a stressful job. And so my escape was watching those feel-good Hallmark movies, because Hallmark kind of owned it back in the day. And then, of course, when Lifetime, Netflix, anyone that had a Christmas movie or a book, I would devour it. And it was my escape. And so when I had an opportunity, I was actually doing a travel show. I had left TV news. I had just come out of Afghanistan, where I was reporting and did a documentary. I needed a break. I wanted to do feel-good, empowering, positive stories. And so I did my brand Travel Therapy TV. I travel 68 countries. I couldn't travel. I had time. I was watching Hallmark and said, I want to write one of these. And that became A Christmas Prince.
Wow. And then how did you get it onto Netflix?
Well, that's a crazy story. When I wrote it, Netflix at the time wasn't doing original Christmas movies. So that wasn't even on my radar. All I knew was Hallmark. And I watched them like an investigative reporter, literally. I didn't have a manager and agent. I didn't know anyone in Hollywood. I'd not been in the genre. I didn't go to school for it. But I'm a writer. I'm a storyteller. And so I thought, I'm just going to study the formula, which all romance has, specifically Hallmark. And I wrote it down like, okay, the first act break is at 22 minutes. The near-miss kiss, all of the things. And then I started researching the names of Hallmark people. So I just cold emailed and said, hi, I love your movies, and I have something I think would be perfect. I wrote a whole script because I was smart enough to know that nobody's going to hire me on idea.
Yeah.
And that's when Hallmark said, lovely, sounds perfect, but we don't make the movies. You have to find production companies. And they also said, where's your agent? And I don't find you on IMDb. I didn't even know what IMDb was, but it's a database where you find movies.
Yeah.
And so it was a very quick learning process. Then I started researching production companies, pitched my story to them. Next thing you knew, it was optioned. So I thought, yay, I was told it was going to Hallmark. And I found out pretty much last minute that it ended up on Netflix. And It was Netflix's first original Christmas movie, A Christmas Prince. And it blew up, Whitney, because the audience at the time, it was 2017, was very young and hip, just like it is now, all ages. But Netflix was more edgy. Romantic comedies hadn't really come back yet. We were kind of part of that first wave that brought back, that's what I've been told by the Netflix executives, bringing back romantic comedies, those 80s and 90s ones that we loved. And so it blew up because a younger generation says, what is this super sweet, cozy, because they weren't used to it. They weren't watching Hallmark movies.
Right.
It's basically a Hallmark movie on Netflix. And so that sort of started it. It blew up. It went viral. It was on all the talk shows because Netflix put out its own tweet. And don't quote me on the numbers, but it's something like, to all the people that have watched A Christmas Prince every day for the last 17 days, who hurt you?
Oh.
And it literally, next thing you know, Stephen Colbert is doing a bit on
gosh.
it. It's all over. Whoopi Goldberg is talking like, Netflix, don't you shame us for watching our movies.
Yeah.
And so it blew up, and I quickly wrote another movie. I thought, it's going to Netflix. It's called Christmas Camp. It ended up on Hallmark.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
And that's how I started writing books, because people think it's the other way around when you talk about my best-selling, the Christmas books. After I saw, as a writer in movies, you think they love your script, but so much changes because it is a collaboration. So it's from the actors to the buyers. Everybody gets the fingers in the recipe of your book. Really, your book is, your screenplay is a starting point. So when I saw how much changed from the moment they bought it to the moment it's made, I thought, wow. And I remember talking to a director who said, a lot of people for therapy write the book version because then you have control over your story.
Yeah.
And so that's when A Christmas Prince came out. I wasn't smart enough to keep the book rights. I didn't even know that was a thing. After that, my book went to movie went to Hallmark Christmas Camp. I kept the rights. I have the book. That was my debut novel. And I just continued with writing books to movies, movies to books, and just doing both. And it's been quite a journey. And it started self-publishing. I was with HarperCollins during the pandemic. People wanted those feel-good Christmas books like I write. They're very much like Hallmark, feel-good, a warm, cozy hug type of a book. And with the pandemic, a lot of publishers were having to pivot or put things on hold. And somebody said, you can just self-publish. I'm like, yeah, I can do that. Oh my goodness. That was a lot harder than I thought, starting my own publishing company. Yeah. But I'm really proud that I have, because now I have control of when I can put out books if someone needs it, or I sell a movie and I want the book as a companion. So it's been amazing. And I'm blessed to have people like you help me share the stories.
Of course. That is so incredible. Let's talk about your latest book, A Ruff Royal Christmas. What is this about? I know there's a dog involved, so I know that I'm already going to like it.
You're in. You're like, I'm so
There's
in.
a dog, yeah.
I love it. People ask me, they say, you write so many Christmas movies and books. How do you get your ideas?
Yeah.
And so this is a really fun story to tell. This part wasn't fun, but I broke my hand on Christmas Eve in 2023.
Wait, that sounds like a movie.
It should have been. There was no hot doctor in the ER, and I'm not happy about it. I was actually in the hallway all night because there wasn't even a waiting room. And I literally was looking, this should be a movie. This is a rom-com, right? Christmas
It
Eve.
is.
Hanging Christmas stockings at my dad's care home. So I'm like, this is so perfect. No doctors, no hot doctors in a freezing cold.
Yeah.
And, and at the time I just thought I broke my pinky. They're going to tape it together. I'm on my way. I was an athlete. I'm like, let's go. Let's just, get back to my dinner with my dad. Mm-hmm. Well, it turned out long and short, waited for hours and hours, and it became a lot more complicated than we thought. Didn't need surgery, but I've been in physical therapy almost 2 years.
Wow.
While I was in physical therapy, there is a screen up, a television, but it would kept playing things, but there was no audio while we were all sitting there and doing our therapy. And there was a show called Lucky Dog, and I don't know if anyone's seen it. It's amazing, but it's basically about a dog trainer that goes to shelter dogs that are kind of troubled dogs, trains them specifically for families, and they find their forever family. So I would see this and I'd be watching it. So just kind of put that nugget in. Fast forward, I'm meeting with some movie executives about writing a movie, and they said, we would like something royal again from you, like a Christmas Prince. What do you have? And at the time we were supposed to be talking about summer romantic comedies. I wasn't prepared to pitch Christmas. I had my producer with me, and she was like, Karen has a ton of ideas. And I'm going, I have no Christmas ideas in my head.
Yeah.
And so I scrambled. Being a former journalist helps because, you're live on the scene and you have to always come up with something. And so I said, with, again, blank, and here's an executive. It might be 10 years till you can meet with somebody like this. I was so fortunate to have the meeting. And I said, well, you like dogs? Because I'd stalked the Instagram to make sure they like dogs. And they said, yes. And I said, what about, I'm thinking royal dogs. And it just flashed into my head just like that. And the story, I said, what about if it's a princess? And instead of the normal royal, there's a twist. So the queen isn't one of those, you can't marry a commoner. She's actually hip and fun. And the daughter's the serious one and has to kind of keep the queen in line after the dad has passed away. And so what if the princess is really uptight and the mom brings home this gorgeous but very mischievous border collie right before Christmas when the princess is planning this amazing charity event to honor her dad. And the queen's like, don't worry, I have him. He's going to puppy boot camp. I have an American trainer coming to take care of it. But queen takes off to Paris, and the dog trainer's late, so this dog is tearing down Christmas trees. The trainer comes. The princess and the trainer obviously don't get along. As they're arguing, the dog disappears. Oh. And the journey is they have to work together, the most unlikely pair, to find this pup before the queen returns, and they're both in big trouble. And so what I loved about it, and what the buyer loved about it, I can't say who because things are always still in process, but I did write the movie version of this first before the book. They said, we love it because it's a different twist. And there is a twist to the end of the story. We all know in romantic comedies how these things end. We have to have a happy ending. But I also wanted to elevate it. And so it's really giving, if you love Princess Diaries, Gilmore Girl vibes, because there's that mother-daughter relationship and banter that I love, along with a romance and a mystery and a twist that you don't see coming. So I think I packed a lot into this book, and it's so much fun because you write a novel and you have so much more freedom. When you write a screenplay, it's 90 to 100 pages, pretty much dialogue down the middle. You write a novel and you get 340 pages to play and to just develop more. Yeah. So really excited to have the novel come out first and to be able to get that story out there. And fingers crossed we'll all be talking about the movie next time around.
What are sort of the differences and different challenges that come with either writing, in this case, you wrote the movie, then the book, So what is that like to go from writing the movie to the book? Like what are some of the difficulties that can come with that?
I think it's actually, for most people harder the other way.
That makes sense.
Because if you take a book and it's 340 pages, often what you have to do is strip down. You have to get rid of characters. You have to do composite characters. You have to get rid of, if your budget, especially a Christmas movie on the genre that, the Hallmark Lifetime budgets, or $1.5 million maybe. They shoot them in 15 days. A lot of people don't know that. So you have a very compact, maybe 5 or 6 settings. All of a sudden, if you take a book and you have 50 settings and you have a crash or an explosion or something like that, that might not be feasible in a movie. So I don't know, I might be biased, but as a screenwriter, I think adapting a book is harder. But it's a joy because I don't outline. So I don't outline screenplays or my books. And it's about 50% of writers I know that either outline meticulously or kind of free, go for it. I will say, because people might be upset about that and say, how do you do that? I always know a beginning and I always know the ending. So it's very clear. And it's that middle part, which is kind of the fun, where all the messy stuff happens, that I let the character sort of guide the way. I'll write one scene and then the next. So when I write the screenplay first and then I write the novel, the only challenge is I literally have the pages next to me and I look at them and then I just free write. And I find that I get to tell more descriptions, which I love. One of the compliments I've gotten from reviewers that I'm really proud of is they say, this is a real Christmas book. This just isn't a story that somebody put in a Christmas tree and said, here's a Christmas book for you. Christmas is a character in all my stories, and that's not always the case. And so I have very descriptive, whether it's, I put recipes in the back. So I have this dark chocolate bliss, peppermint bliss donuts that, are featured in the story. I have these little butter balls. I have treats for Stormy, the pup that I talked to a veterinarian about to make them healthy. So my books are sort of immersive, almost like the movie. And I think the book, the only hard part is it depends on the screenplay. Sometimes you're adding more. And for me, it's point of view. That's the hardest part, because obviously in a movie, you get to see all the point of views and then you can see where it's going to collide. In a story, it's usually one POV and a lot of inner monologue, which you don't have in a movie. So I do my books usually dual POV. So I can have both my male and my female characters, so you have a little more. And in this one, I actually have the Queen's POV. I'm careful about it. I'm not head hopping, as they say in the literary world, to make it very organic. It's their own chapter. So it's very clear. It's not in the middle. I think that's too confusing. That's me personally. So I break it up through chapters. But that way you can see all the pieces build. And I think for me and my books and what my readers have said is it makes it a bigger story. They say they feel like they're watching a movie. So if you love those kind of movies, then those are the kind of books that I write.
What is it about the Christmas season that you love so much?
Oh, thanks for asking, Whitney. I think that because Christmas was always a personal escape for me, as a news reporter covering crime and all of the things, it was such an escape. And my birthday's a week before Christmas, December 19th. And a lot of people assume I might have had the most magical Christmases because I write magical Christmases. And it was sort of the opposite. My mom was amazing, single mom. It was just me and my mom. And she was a public school teacher. She worked 2 jobs. I worked from starting at 15. We didn't have a lot monetarily, but my mom always made Christmas special, and so did my grandparents. I'm an only child, only grandchild, and it was the one time of year, I don't have that big family. I didn't have the big Christmas dinners. I didn't have the snowball fights. I didn't have any of that. It was just me. I had a Charlie Brown Christmas tree one year. I remember my mom was sad and she didn't want to get a tree, and so I cut down a branch when I was 10 and wrapped it with a blanket. Thank you, Charlie Brown. It inspired me. So for me, Christmas is special because I think it's a one time of year, no matter what we're going through, that we can bring joy and we can bring happiness and we can find ways to give back. And so even as a struggling indie author, I'm always finding ways to, like, how can I help local libraries, or how can I help a local bookstore? What can I do? And people ask and they say, well, Karen, you're struggling, but I really believe it's that Christmas spirit. If you help people, it's tenfold. And it just has the power. I always try to carry a book, like when I'm flying, I'll put it in the pocket, and I figure maybe it's the cleaning crew that gets it. Whoever needs the book will find it.
Yeah.
And I'll share, I'll give it extra books and say, give it to someone who needs it. If it's in the car, maybe I'm at the grocery store, the bank, someone that just needs a little Christmas cheer.
What is Christmas like for you now?
Well, now it's Christmas. It's writing a lot of Christmas. My family, I grew up in Seattle, the north of Seattle. So my mom is there. And I don't usually go home right at Christmas. My dad, as I mentioned, I don't talk about it a lot, but he's in a care home right now. He battles Lewy body dementia, which for anyone listening that knows the disease, it's tough. We're going on 6 years, and he's an only child. So I'm it. It's just me and him. So we have right now our Christmases are at the care home. So I mentioned I broke my hand. I was hanging stockings. So the last 5 years that I've been back in the Valley since the pandemic, I try to do Christmas for the residents there and the caregivers, because they work so hard. I would love to have my dad with me, but I just have a little condo here. I left my home to come and care for him, and it has 25 stairs, and he's confined to a wheelchair. And he's in a pretty rough spot right now, so it gets me emotional, but as long as we're together.
Yeah, definitely. And you just embody the Christmas spirit, and you give so much. I mean, this is the first time I've actually met you in person, but you're so full of life and full of a love of making other people happy and spreading joy. So, and you already have spread joy to so many people. We so appreciate that.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate what you do, because supporting authors, we all tell the story, whether it comes from a place of joy or pain, whatever our stories are. And thank you for what you do and here at the station, because you're helping us share our stories. 99% of us authors, you do not get rich. You go backwards sometimes, especially in self-publishing. But if you have a story to tell, and anyone listening, I always say, please tell your story. We want your stories. We need your stories. We can all connect through stories. And Christmas to me, it's changed. I used to live in Manhattan, and Christmas I might be going to Switzerland and doing something very beautiful and, more glamorous, I suppose you would say, as a travel journalist covering Christmas. But to me, Christmas is about family and finding a way. And yes, my Christmases have changed a lot in the last 5 years with my dad. But you know what? We watch his favorite shows, or I make his favorite food, and it brings me a different kind of joy. And I will say the residents, no matter what they're battling of dementias or Alzheimer's, and everyone probably has one connection that can at least relate with grandparents or parents, they turn into children at Christmas too. And I just encourage everyone, my public service announcement, even if you have someone that's Alzheimer's that doesn't speak and you think doesn't recognize you, and they might not, I see the joy on their faces at Christmas, whether it's sprinkles on cupcakes, the little things, that part of their memory they hold on to and brings them joy still. So please celebrate with your loved ones, go see them, spend time, or do a recording or a FaceTime, things like that. I think that will make us feel the Christmas spirit, but sharing the Christmas spirit and finding ways, whether it's writing books or movies or the little things are kind of the big things at Christmas.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And it doesn't have to be a big, huge, fancy Christmas. It can be something small. It can be what you do with your father, which is so incredibly special. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Really love that. I discovered you on TikTok because I had like 100 people, I feel like, tag me or send me the video that you posted about reaching out to bookstores and libraries, and how you're reaching out to book talkers. You want to do events. You want to do festive events. Why is that something that's so important to you?
Well, it's so funny because when I first went on TikTok, I love social media because I feel like it's another way to share story, but it's a lot of work, as you know. I'm just by myself. I don't have a team. A lot of people think I have a team because I'm out there doing that. And at first it was so funny, Whitney. I would set up, I'd put on makeup, because I'm a former TV person, I want to look good, and I'd set up everything and try to do something perfect, and it didn't reach people.
Yeah.
Then I walk every day, and I thought, I don't have a lot of time with my dad. That's my priority. But I do walk every morning, my mental health walk, very early, 5 a.m. or what have you. And so I started just looking like not good, just recording, just talking while I was walking and offering tips. It was actually during the writer's strike. I'm a member of the Writers Guild. And they said, answer questions about the strike or give writing tips and stuff. And so that started the interaction, and I saw the power. I had always thought the TikToks and social media was to go broad. Something came to me that said, if you're in Phoenix, here's restaurants. And I was like, it found me. This is crazy. So I thought I'd try it. And again, I didn't overthink it. I said, Phoenix and Scottsdale friends, I'm going to be at this library. If you know libraries or bookstores that need support, let me know. And I'm doing things at Phoenix libraries every weekend. I was at a different Phoenix library. And then that library would hear and another library would invite me. And it became this viral movement where all of a sudden, the ones that I tried so hard to be all official.
Right.
And here I just said, hey, I'm going to be at these libraries. I'm doing free events. I'm doing things at indie bookstores. And then I added one because TikTokers ask for Zoom. They're like, well, I live in the Czech Republic. I said, smart. So I did a Zoom. I got 2 other authors that also have had their books turned into Christmas movies. And within a couple hours, we had 200 people. And you know how hard it is to get people to engage.
Yeah.
And they showed up because usually they sign up but don't show up.
Yeah.
We had all of these people. It was so much fun. So I'm continuing to add on my website, which is my name, KarenSchaler.com. And also, if you follow me on TikTok or anywhere, I have a link that takes, and I'm constantly adding events because people will reach out. I just heard from the folks of the Little Free Libraries, and we're going to be, I shouldn't be sharing because you guys will probably hear first, but we're going to be doing something like a scavenger hunt for our Little Free Libraries.
I love that.
And I'm also working with a child literacy program. There's a big event coming up. So I think social media, specifically TikTok, I've done more now to say, I did one today saying, I'm going to a local bookstore and I'm going to do one talking about what you're doing because I think it's so amazing so people can find you that love it. It's just such a connection. And I left home, what I considered home in New York City, where I lived for 15 years, to come care for my dad. I didn't know anybody here. I had lived in the Valley, but it had been 5 years. And it was the pandemic. You're not going to go, hi, guys, let's go out, for something. So I'm pretty isolated here. And being on TikTok and putting that out to the Phoenix Valley and hearing all the people, hundreds of people, and the fact that it reached you and I'm here, usually I have a press release. I know how to send it out. And I've been on your TV stations. As you know, I love you guys so much. I didn't have a chance to do that this year because my dad is in a rough place right now with hospice and things are pretty rough. I just didn't have a chance to reach out to anybody. So you've been a blessing because I love sharing the story and trying to maybe one person will hear and then, kind of say, oh, I can do that. Or, oh, there's a little free library in my community. And maybe you'll find my book or maybe you have a book that, you want to share. I just think one act of kindness can snowball.
Yeah. And you really never know who's going to see a video
It's true.
and things can just really spread online so quickly. Okay. So your latest book, A Ruff Royal Christmas, is out now. Is there anything else you want to add or share that you haven't shared with folks yet?
Oh gosh, there's, I just think, thank you for the time. Thank you for listening, reading, watching. I think it's so important. I also do audiobooks, and I was really happy this year. I have a new audiobook publisher, Blackstone, where that way it can be in libraries and it can be for everyone. I've been with Audible. I love Audible so much, but then it's exclusive to Audible. And so, just trying to find ways to give back. And I just encourage anyone, if they love Christmas, Christmas romance books, stories. There's hundreds of authors out there with these stories. And one of the things I did is put it in Kindle Unlimited for people on Amazon. So books are expensive, you guys. They're expensive. That's why I do the local libraries. Use your local library. I ask them, what's the way I can help? So a lot of the local libraries, I did a book chat. People come, we ask about behind the scenes. I tell them about the actors and writing Christmas movies, whatever they want to talk about. And then I will autograph books and they allow me to sell them. It's called Friends of the Library. And then I donate the proceeds back to the library. Cool. The library said the way you can help, though, maybe you can't afford a book, just show up, get a library card. That's what the libraries want. So I think my message, whether it's libraries, whether it's literacy programs, the Little Free Library, anything out there, I think my message is just, you as one person can do so much more. Like Whitney, you reaching out to me on TikTok was so much fun because it reminded me of, oh man, I forgot to reach out to the TV station this year. I really should have done that. And it brought me so much joy that I'd be able to come on and ideally share this story. So I'm just grateful for the time and people to consider if they're interested in the book. I even, thanks to Book Talk, Book Talkers wanted to buy it. I started a Book Talk shop so people can buy the book on TikTok, and it's a special edition with a really pretty bookmark that comes, and I was blessed to find a distributor up north that can help me do that. And it's just about, again, reaching as many people as possible. So I think keep Christmas in your heart. I have a ton of Jewish friends, so whether it's Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever your holiday is, find a way to give back and helping one person. I think it's the pay it forward, but it's true, and we've seen it work. So I just encourage everyone, no matter, I think at your saddest times is when you're most vulnerable and you kind of want to hide and I know I do, and you just don't want to be out there. But I think by putting yourself out there, letting people embrace you, whether it's online or in person, I think makes a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Well, Karen, thank you so much for joining us. We so appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, and happy holidays.